which is super helpful. Okay, let's see. All right, so we should be streaming now, or very, very shortly. So let's go back to kind of where we are. So the first thing we want to do is, when we're rigging this, is we want to move all these bones just enough to where they're registered inside of these keyframes that it has been moved. That way when we move it on a later keyframe, it doesn't think that that's its new inherent and original position. So now that these guys have all moved a little bit, I'm going to bump this up also. The first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to have it open up. So maybe we'll go to like keyframe 20. And we'll just rotate that up. Grab this one and rotate it up. Make sure they're kind of came back a little bit. Like so. And then we want to have these things slide open. And it kind of came out a little bit, so we can shrink that in. We'll do the same to this side. Pull it back, bring it in. Just until it gets nice and flush there. And then we'll pull this guy up. Maybe about here. That's even probably a little high. Maybe here is probably good. And then we can extend it. This thing. And this is going to be our rotator. So that's good. So now our animation cycle will close. Now we can see it actually opening. Alright, so when we walk up, that's what it'll do. It'll pop up like that. And then we're gonna need, and then we're gonna have to have it spin rotation, so that'll go from like 40 to 60. We'll have this little guy rotate. Doesn't like that. I'm going to change my view here real quick. So we're going to hop into object mode and control 4, 5. There it is, top down. Alright, this might look a little messed up, but from 40 to 60. Now we should be able to see this thing spin. Yeah, it's kind of fast. We can slow it down if we want. But nice thing about slowing it down is it's really easy too, because all we'll do is just take these keyframes and we'll just spread them out a little bit. So let's just double it in length. This one to 40, or up to 80. I mean, bring this one to like there, and here. There we go. That's probably a bit more precise of a speed. And now what we can do is we can just duplicate the exact animation that we had going to open. We can just play it in reverse order and have it close. So now we'll see it. It will pop. It'll open up. It'll spin around, and it'll close back up. From 0 to 120 keyframes. Great, that's exactly what we wanted to do. And then we're just going to have this animation continuously loop while we're within range. Then we'll have it close back up. But one thing I like to do is see what it would look like without bones, because sometimes that'll give you a different perspective. So remember we did the bones on separate layers? So go to the layer that doesn't have them, and then you can run it, and it'll still do all its animations and stuff. Oh, it kind of tweaks back there at the end too, but that's fine. because we aren't going to be calling any animations within that keyframe at any point in time. Cool, so that's what we want. Let's just save it, and let's bring it into Unity. Actually, I don't know where the save to. Documents, GDC stuff. Okay. We're going to import the blend, even though I told you guys we're not going to use blends. We'll use FBXs, but that's fine for what we're doing right now. It's fine. Where did I save that to again? Documents. Yikes. That's not good. Whoa, that's weird. That's weird. I've never seen this before. So one thing it might be doing is, since there's no base bone, it doesn't really know like what this thing's doing. Let's try saving it as an FBX and see if that changes anything. I'm worried it won't. I'm worried it won't, and we're gonna have to kind of start over. That's kind of what I think, right? Is that the bones aren't weighted properly here? Maybe, but we'll see. I mean, let's see what the FBX looks like. I don't know, my guess is it's going to look exactly the same. Something's just going to kind of be weird about this. This is weird. Okay. Well, like I said, ultimately what we might have to do... Oh, that's so weird. Why is it doing that? It could just be... It could be probably what's happening is, for whatever reason, it doesn't have a base bone, so it thinks that... So it's just kind of weighting things incorrectly. So what I'm going to try doing, I'm just going to try and jimmy rig this real quick. It probably won't work. Oh, it's not. You're right. Thank you. I haven't switched it. So I'm going to do... This might not work. I'm just going to try adding a single bone to this. I'm going to make sure I turn on X-ray so I can see where it's at. And essentially, we're going to weight everything to this bone that's not doing any movement. So we're probably going to need to reanimate all of it. Which, that's okay. I mean, that sucks, but, you know, it is what it is. Don't want to click that. Okay. Alright, now this is one giant bone, and it lost all deformation. Okay, I'm not surprised by that. Okay, but now at least we have this parent bone. Like I said, this parent bone is going to be weighted to everything that's not moving. I think that's the problem, right? Because I think Unity imported this object, and it thinks by default it should have all these bones need to be connected to something, right? Maybe there's an option in here. This might work. Maybe. These are all long shots. would have updated itself. Okay, well, all right, let's just do it the way we're going to have to do it then. We're going to have to go back through and reanimate it and reweight it and all that fun stuff. What we can do to reweight it is we can make it a little cleaner than how we did it last time. We can bring this up so it's in the animation state. Shoot, I really wanted to get to the coding part of this today, and we might not make it because we have to redo this now. I mean, we could just code it, and then it will probably still work because, yeah, okay, we'll do that. That's good. That's a good idea. We'll just do the animations that we have. We'll come back through here and we'll refix this. But so what we have right now is this thing that doesn't look great, but we know what it will look like in the end. Let's go back in our practice zone. We're not going to save here because we don't care about the checkpoint. I changed things up a little bit in the project. I don't know if you guys noticed this. Now we don't have like 5 islands floating around. These islands are now their own prefab. They're saved in zones. And right now we just have the trains because they were just trains. But like since I had a little more detail on the radio island, I saved that whole island as a prefab in general, just so we can drag and drop it, right? So we'll just be like, there's a whole island. And this is how we'll be able to access things from here on out. Oh yeah, right, I'm on Blender still. If only there was a way to have it automatically just switch, know what you're on. I'm sure there is. I'm sure people have thought that up. Okay, so what we're going to do is hop in here, zoom in on our player, because we're going to put this right by our player. Oh, this thing's so ugly. Okay. I don't even know what the top is. I think this is the top. So we'll just put this here. We're gonna give it, we're gonna get rid of its animator because it's not gonna have an animator. Remember, it's gonna have the animation, not the animator. So we'll move that. We're gonna add the animation, and it's gonna have 2 clips. And we're also going to want to have a box collider. And this box collider is going to be a trigger because we're gonna be able to walk up to it and have it register us. So we're just going to make this box collider bigger. Well, I guess we can make it probably a little bit bigger. Alright, so now when we walk up to this thing, it'll move around, it'll open up. Okay, it's a trigger. Alright, now we have to do is we actually have to set up the animations. So I know this isn't right, but it's okay. The keyframes will still be correct. We'll still be able to tell where it should be at. Oh, wait. Maybe not. Oh, yeah, of course we lost all our keyframes because I added that extra bone. I think this, I don't think I exported this one though, so this one's probably still has it. Okay, cool. So starting one will be open. Will be the open animation. So we're gonna call this thing open. And I don't remember where it went. I think it went from 0 to 40. Okay, cool. So that goes from 0 to 40. That'll be open. And we're gonna have spin, which went from 40 to 80, okay. Cool, that's good enough for now. And then we'll have close, which would be from 80 to, or from 120 to 160, I guess. Oh, to play it. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's a way we can play. Maybe. Actually, let's look. Let's look. Play animation backwards. Unity. Because there might just be like a function you can call on the animation, like animation.play backwards. Okay, so we can just set its speed to -1. So that would be fine. I mean, that's the same thing as running it backwards. It's just playing it. Okay, cool. I mean, that'll work. We can just use that then. Our close will just be our open, but it'll just be our open backwards, which might get confusing here in a little bit, but that's fine. Make sure, remember, we have to have the animation type as legacy. Remember that. Can't forget that. Oh, no, we just lost our component. Oh, see, it thinks this cube's cool. But it's got to be the armature that's connected to it then. Okay, I'm not going to get too caught up on this. What we are going to do is we're going to have the open clip and the spin clip. And I guess we'll have one more just for its just one more clip for just nothing, just when it's by itself idle. Just call you, I guess, idle, which is going to go from 0 to 0. It's not going to do anything. That's so weird why this thing just got giant. Oh, I think I might know. Is it because this cube? Yeah, for some reason Blender imports weird like this. Actually, what I could probably do is go here, center at 0, and I'll make it just a tiny little box. Okay, now let's write the script. Component, what we'll call it is checkpoint, because it's going to have some more stuff besides just its animation. So we have a trigger and some animations. So what we're going to do, first things first, so we're going to have our onTriggerEnter function. Oh yeah, it's probably not on the stream, right? Yeah. Just gonna set this thing up. Okay, now we're in mono. Because the first thing we're going to do is this onTriggerEnter. So we're going to enter in here, and first thing we're going to do is check the tag that is entering. C.tag is equal to, I think our tag is player. Then we're going to open. We'll just say, we'll make a function called open. Actually, we don't even do that. We'll just have booleans that can do it. Or we'll have enumerations that do it, because I don't think we've done enums here. Public enum check state will be open, closed, spin. So it's going to need to have its own check state. We'll set it to closed to start with. Actually, we're not going to have that. We're going to have just a close and an idle, because our close is going to have to invert our speed of our open. This will just set our current state. When we walk up to it, it'll set our current state to open. That's fine. And our update, we can just check. We can just have a switch in here. Switch our current state. Okay, check state dot open. We'll do get component animation dot play open. It's called open. Oh, I can't do this right now. I'm terrible. I just got a new keyboard yesterday, and it's like the keys are so weird. So I'm trying to revert back to using the keys in my keyboard or my laptop, and it's throwing me off. But that's okay. All right, then we need to break out. And then inside this switch, we'll also have other things that are eventually going to allow us, like, you know, like save game option, or like, you guys probably understand, right? Any questions so far? Okay, so for close, this is where it gets a little tricky, right? Because we're going to need to get components animation, and I can already see a big error here. Dot layer, no. What am I trying to call here? Here we go. Get animation. Yeah, because I don't want to do layers yet. I just want to get the open animation, and I will want to set its speed to -1.0. And now this will play it backwards. And then we're going to play open. Okay, here's where I was saying this is kind of big problem here. Not really a big problem, but one little thing we're going to change at least. I cannot type. Animation dot play open with a capital O. So one thing we're doing here is we're doing a lot of get components, which are fine, but get components are just slightly resource heavy. So what we should do, especially in this given state, because remember update gets called every frame, so this is doing this get component over and over and over and over and over again. Literally every frame is calling get component of this animation. So what we should do is what we call caching. And that's just creating the variable and then setting it so we don't have to call the get component function every single time. So we can make our own animation object, animation anim. We don't even need to initialize it here. And then our start function will initialize it to anim equals get component. If I could type animation. And then here we're just going to say anim.play. So that way we don't, every single time we don't have to call this get component function. But now we'll have anim. Then we're going to call it, we're going to use it as an array right here. And we're going to look for the objects open inside that array, or that clip called open. And anim. And that's just a little better. Anytime you're putting anything in the update function that you're going to be using like over and over and over and over and over again, especially if it's something like a get component, it's probably better to cache it in the start if you can. You can't always do that, but if you can, it's a little bit nicer. Okay, what else do we have? We're going to have case of check state. Whoa. Oh, because I'm outside my parenthesis. And I didn't even set a break in there. Case check state dot spin. And finally our idle, which is just going to break out because it's not going to do anything. Or I guess it can play our idle animation. Okay, so when we walk up to it, when we enter in that trigger collider, it knows who we are, and it's going to set its state to open, so it's going to play its open animation. And then when we walk away from it, trigger exit, we'll do the same thing if c.tag is equal to player, because we don't want going off of if anything exits it, we want it just if we exit it. Our current state is going to be check state dot close. And now one last little thing we're going to need to do is, because when it goes from its close, when it goes from close and it's open, we need to have a little timer in there that knows how long to play this animation clip for, and then, well, not necessarily loop it, but it needs to, because it needs to play the open animation once. And then as soon as that open animation finishes playing, we need to change the check state to spin, so then it starts spinning, right? So one thing we're going to do is we're going to add a little coroutine in here. So we're going to make a enumerator function. Exactly. If we didn't set it to check state spin, it's just gonna keep playing that open animation over and over. It'll look kind of weird. Yeah. So this will be, we'll call this start spin. And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna have a little timer. So timers are kind of cool because we just do no, what is it? Return new yield. No, return new. Wait 4 seconds. And then since we're starting to spin, we're gonna do. I think we can get this timer directly by calling anim open dot length. This will return us time in seconds. And now this is going to let us wait. I think it's yield first. I think it's yield return new. Yeah, that's got to be it. And so once it waits for however long that open animation plays for, then we can set check state equals, or current state, whatever we called our current state. Current state equals check state dot spin. And now that's going to set it to spin, so it's going to constantly do that over and over and over again. And now we're going to do the same thing for exiting. So we'll just call this stop spin, so we don't have to change much. And we're going to get the same thing, because it's still going to play it off length, because length is just going to be opposite. They're just going to play the same thing, but negative time. That might not work. We'll see. And then we're going to set this to idle. So it's going to start playing its idle animation over and over and over again. And yes, this will not work because we're setting its speed to -1 as soon as we walk away. So when we walk back to it, we need to reset it to 1. Otherwise, it's going to play its close animation when we walk up to it. So we need to call anim of open dot speed equals 1.0. All right. Didn't like that. Oh, because for some reason it did add clip. All right, who thinks it's gonna work? Oh, all right. We had more faith than I thought. More faith that I have in myself as well. So let's see. Well, first of all, let's see if there's errors. It's probably gonna be like, you did something wrong. No, okay, it's cool with it. It likes it, understands it. One of the cool things was setting enumerations public in Unity. See how we have this public check state, which check state, remember, is our enumeration that we set here. When you like switch it back to Unity, is we can actually see this here, and it like pops in this little like drop-down menu. So enumerations are cool to view publicly in Unity because you can really see what they're supposed to be. Now, for the real question, let's try it. Is this guy tagged player? No, he's not. Okay, so we need to make sure he's tagged player. Apply that prefab. Now let's try it. Okay, so it's looping the play animation. Aha, because idle could not be found, and that makes sense because I didn't actually set up idle ever in the actual animations component itself. Remember, we only have the open and spin, so we need to have one more there, and we need that to be its idle, which is weird because it should have played its spin animation, not its idle animation. That's okay. Let's try it out. Let's try it out again and see what happens. Let's run over there real fast. It's opening up, but it's not getting set correctly here. Okay, so it's playing open. So open's never getting set to spin. So it looks like this might not be actually calling us correctly. Length might not be. No, it's in seconds. Oh, duh. Was remember actually calling the function that has the enumeration in it. So what we can do here is once we enter, and once we set it to open, we need to actually call this function. We're not actually doing it. So remember I called it a coroutine earlier because that's what it's technically is doing. So we need to do this special little function call called start coroutine, and then we put in the function name. Start spin. What's that? Start coroutine allows you to call specific functions that are of type of that are an IE enumerator that return some type of enumerator, which is basically just going to allow you an enumerator. It's just going to enumerate over time. So if you want to call this function, I can't just put like start spin. I can't call it just like that because it doesn't understand this because it needs some kind of return type. So you call it with this start coroutine little tag here, and to be 100% honest, I don't know exactly what it does. I mean, I can make the assumption, and that's about it. Just saying that by calling the start coroutine, that's just allowing us to return the time that it's going to take for this function to call. So we call this, and now this should actually set our current state to spin. We're going to do the same thing for leaving. So as soon as we set our check state to close, then we're going to need to start coroutine and stop spin. Alright, now this should work. What do you guys think? Is this going to work this time? I told you guys it wouldn't work the first time. It never works the first time. At least you don't have errors, though. That's like the big thing, is you don't want to come in here with errors, or if you do have them, at least be able to quickly understand why you have the errors. Okay, now we walk up to this thing. It's going to open up, and it starts spinning. Yay! Okay, and then when we walk away, though, it should close up properly. It doesn't. Okay. Oh no, this thing's bugging out now. Okay, so now it's not even playing that animation at all. I don't know, something about setting that animation speed to -1. I don't feel confident in that. I feel like that might be causing some slight issues. Okay, so it opened up good there that time, and it just closes up immediately. But what we can do is, you know, a cool thing about Unity is dynamic debugging, right? So we can just take a look at our little checkpoint object here, and we can move towards it, and we can see how the current state's switching. So it switches to open, and it switches to spin. That's how it should. And then when we walk away from it, it should switch to close, and then to idle. It does. Okay, cool. So it's doing that, but for whatever reason, it's just not playing. I think it's because it's playing this animation at speed -1, and something's telling me that that's not actually playing it backwards. Yeah. That kind of makes sense, I think. So it's looking at its keyframe in time, and it's playing its keyframes backwards. So if we... Yeah, I don't think that's how we need to set it up. I think that if we played through the animation and then read it backwards, right? I think that would make sense. But I think because it's starting at the same original spot, so it's saying take 0 and play 0 backwards. There's just nothing there from that. Okay, so to quickly fix that, all we've got to do is go back into the checkpoint objects here and then add its close, which would be, what do we think that was, from 40 to whatever. 0 to 40 was open, 40 to 80 was spin, so 80 to 120 is probably closed then. Oh wow, way over time. Okay, but so you guys get the idea now. So now basically in our function we would just call, instead of calling open and resetting these speeds, we can just call close and not reset speeds. Just did that over in Unity real quick, and now it should play that correctly. And again, we're gonna have to add the size one more time, make it of size 4, and then we need to throw this close animation in there. And now let's just test it real quick, and then we'll get out of here. Okay, so we run over here. We'll walk up to it, it should open up as it did, do its little spin thing. Then from here, if like we press down or something, that'll like activate like a checkpoint menu or something, or like a bank menu like we were talking about. And now when we walk away, it'll close back up, and all good, all right, sweet. Now that's very basic idea on how you open, or how you're gonna play dynamic animations with using a collider or something like that you walk up in here. Any questions before you guys get out of here? Anything that makes sense? You guys still on board? Good. All right, and that's going to conclude it for today. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you next week. Oh, also, last quick thing to note before everybody's gone. first thing, make sure you guys give me your Skype name so I can get you guys added. I know I added a couple of you. Yeah. And second of all, Mondays from here on out, since we're not doing any streaming or anything, it's going to be more of like an open forum day. So just come in, you guys are just going to ask questions, and then we're just going to answer them together. If I'm going to do my best to answer them. If I don't know them, then we'll just look them up together, and it'll be kind of like a team-oriented, focused, open table round discussion sort of thing. Yeah.